Hello and welcome to my review of the full kit of Marneus Calgar Ultramarines Chapter Master, along with his two bestest favourite Primaris, his Victrix Guard, which aren't really as good as Lieutenants, dare I say it, and there's quite a lot of Lieutenants around, so there's a lot of competition. Anyway, this box set will cost you £32.50. Typically you're paying £20 or so for a Lieutenant themselves, so for an extra £12.50 or so you're getting Marneus and another kind of similar Primaris model. The box does come with the rules for these two separate units. I call them two because the Victrix and Honor Guard are their own and Marneus is his own. But if you do lose that bit of paper, then you can find the rules in Vigilus Defiant, the first Vigilus book that Games Workshop have made. I think they're really, really cool models. Well, I think Marneus is a really cool model and the Victrix are a bit boring, but they're Ultramarines. What else can you do? You know, you can't make some fancy swords other than these gladiuses. You can't make some really cool axes like Space Wolves or cool melter pistols like Blood Angels. They're very, very vanilla. There are plenty of other characters in the Space Marine chapters that are in need or require upgrades, Primaris upgrades. I'd love to see them. I'm sure we'll get them in time. But as it stands, Games Workshop decided to do these first to run alongside this Vigilus Defiant campaign. Marneus himself is the best model, I think, out of the set. All three are really straightforward to build. You won't have any issues, not really any mold line issues. And they're good to go, good to spray, good to paint, and get cracking, really. The Victrix can be a bit fiddly with where their capes bond to each other because unfortunately they come in a couple of parts, but the storm shields are exactly the same. Gladius is exactly the same. They're just Primaris in, you know, I say fancier armor. It doesn't do anything game terms. I don't think they have any kind of individuality, not as much as the previous Ultramarines Honor Guard, which would definitely, you could definitely see the difference there compared to other Honor Guards in other chapters. I just want to show you some size comparisons. So I've got Rabute Gilliman. I found him. He is way taller than this whole guard, but it's nice to see them all together. Blue Space Marines, which I haven't painted. I've got a normal Space Marine there and a Primaris there. So as you can see, Primaris work really well with Gilliman. He is a Primarch after all. It's way taller. But the Primaris work well with Marneus, and even sort of normal Space Marines still kind of work. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to show you them all together. The other model in this kind of campaign would be Harken World Claimer. He's hiding here at the back. Here he is, and he just dwarfs all of the models, you know, just because he's leaping off a Primaris. He's that much taller in terms of, you know, a lot of presence. They've done a really good job with Harken, and he's definitely one of my favourite Chaos models to date. A joy to build. Doesn't wobble about because that's quite a thick rod. Always good to have a thick rod. And he's, you know, about to hurl this spear 300 style over at Marneus, probably, or another Primaris, who knows. But anyway, I thought I'd do that little comparison there with them all. So back onto Marneus and his two friends. If you want to take all of them in a group, they will cost you a power points of 14. Marneus himself is an HQ choice and the Victrix Honor Guard are an elite choice. If points wise, they're going to set you back 275 points for the three models in total. That's with all the war gear and things. Why are they good if you have all three? Well, there's not really any synergy between Marneus and both of them. Now, the synergy between Marneus is he's a chapter master, so he can you can re-roll failed hit rolls for friendly Ultramarines units within 6 inches of Marneus Calgar. So they're going to get their re-rolling failed hit rolls, which is kind of worth it because their weapon skill is 3+. It's not like 2+ like a lieutenant normally is. And the synergy between the Honor Guard and Marneus is that they are the Honor Guard of Macragge. So you roll a d6 each time a friendly Ultramarines character, so it doesn't have to be him, loses a wound whilst they are within 3 inches of the unit. And on a 2+, a model from the unit can intercept that hit. Then the character does not lose a wound but the unit suffers a mortal wound. So what we're saying here is, if somebody attacks Marneus and these two are within 3 inches of him, and he fails his 4+ invulnerable, or he fails his 2+, that can happen, you can roll a 2+ again. Then one of these, if it's successful, basically one of these will get a mortal wound, and there's 6 of them between them. The only downside of that is they can't keep healing themselves, a bit like the Gemini from Saint Celestine, with Saint Celestine's tears or whatnot. But still, it's still a nice thing to have. In a way, if you're going to use them as a threesome, in a way you're giving Marneus essentially 14 wounds by doing it this way, because they're going to have the mortal wounds, they're not going to get their saves. So it's up to you whether you want to kind of like sacrifice them. I'm sure that they'll do it, you know, without asking, of course. But still, that's where the synergy kind of comes from. Furthermore, they also have Calgar's Honor Guard. If the army is battle forged, then the unit does not take up any slots in the detachment that includes Marneus Calgar. So that's nice, in that if you want to have them all, then they're not going to take that elite slot up. You can free it up for other units, maybe Terminators that can jump around in Land Raiders and things. Now, that's where you're going to get stuck with Marneus, is transport. At the moment, the only possibility, he's gone from a Land Raider riding, Thunderhawk riding, teleporting Terminator armor equipped Space Marine to, just jump in that repulsor, which does suck. I don't know whether Games Workshop will address it eventually, maybe when they've broken even with how much repulsor tanks they've got to sell. That's really, really mean of me, I do apologise, but you get where I'm coming from, in that his choices of transport are very, very limited just to that right now. So you can have him on the battlefield looking nice, but he is going to be a big target, especially when he's almost 300 points or 14 power points on the table. People are going to want to shoot at him from long range, because he doesn't have anything against that. You just fire lots and lots of shots. He's only, I say only toughness 5. You know, you fire lots and lots of shots into him and the Victrix Guard. Eventually they're going to fall and they're not going to get back up again. That's the thing, unlike Saint Celestine. Very vulnerable to ranged attacks, and if I was going against Marneus, I would just overwhelm him with a number of shots at a long distance. If these guys have managed to get in combat with any part of your army, you've done something terribly wrong, or you haven't blown up that repulsor quick enough. That's my take on it. Anyway, what do you guys think of all of these 3 models? It'd be great to hear your opinions. Please put it in the comments below, as always. I really do enjoy reading them. I just want to remind you that I do have a Patreon, and if you wish to support the channel that way, you can do so. Again, that's in my little description bar. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.